Yeah,
All right, conservatives of Texas.
I'm gonna try to bring our crew out from New Mexico out to that event too.
We would love to have you guys. Certainly would. Well, guys, Conservatives of Texas, established 2019. Alex DeAnda here once again. We're doing a podcast today with a gentleman by the name here, Sheriff Joshua James. He's out of New Mexico. And we've had the great pleasure of having this gentleman on. From the things that I've seen and heard about him, he's very constitutionally conscientious. And I don't know why anymore today that is some type of taboo effect. It shouldn't be, but that's the agreement that we have here in our United States. That's the number one overlaying law of the land, and I just don't get it. Sheriff Joshua James, really pleased to have you on. Tell us a little bit about yourself. I understand that you're running for office there, and so if you don't mind, please let us know a little bit about you.
Well, I ran for Bernalillo County Sheriff last election here in New Mexico. That's where Albuquerque is. We're literally one of the worst counties in America in almost every category. And anything good, we're in last place. Anything bad, we're in first place to eighth place. And we've got the 50th worst governor in America. And when I was running for that position, I actually got appointed into de jure sheriff position in the Republic of Texas versus the state of Texas. And then after I lost the rigged election in Bernalillo County, I think within 6 months of that, I got elected into my position in Bexar County of the Republic of Texas, not the same as Bexar County of the state of Texas. And now I'm running for a constitutional governor of New Mexico, where I plan on doing things out of the ordinary of what people would typically see, and putting the power of our state back in the hands of the people to make a lot of corrections, to fix a lot of fraud, to fix the recall that's happening, and things of that nature. I've worked in the film, music, theater industry for 23 years, among many other things, and involved in a lot of projects, lots of irons in the fire. I work with a lot of different groups across the country that are involved in human trafficking, fixing human trafficking and the drug trafficking, and just bringing revival into our country. I was a part of Remnant Revolution Tour, where we're touring the country, baptizing people and bringing people back to the name of Jesus, and part of the election integrity teams here in New Mexico and around the country, and trying to help the J6ers, and I mean, all kinds of different things. I've been traveling around to all the Reawaken America tours, doing lots of interviews, and just getting everything out there, and trying to bring the generals, the knights of the round table to one place, so that we can start putting all of our talents, resources, skills, and funds all in one place, and promoting action inside of our communities. So I've been trying to help people to see what kind of actions they can take, because if you don't know your rights, you have none. If you don't know your constitutional authorities, you can't assert them. And so it's very important that we learn those constitutional authorities so that we can assert them over these servants who technically are all impersonating their offices. None of them have upheld the Constitution. None of them took an oath to the State of the Union, and none of them are bonded. So therefore, pretty much all over this country, they forfeited their elected positions, although we know that the elections are rigged, therefore nobody's elected, therefore everybody's selected. And the problems that exist is because of us. We allow these things to happen. So we need to know how to, the remedy and recourse to correct the problems in our country and in our local communities.
Yes, sir. Why do you think the people have found this disconnect to knowing our basic principles, rights today? I mean, it's all written out in the Constitution. They can go find it, look at it, look in the articles. Do you think that the system has set up some type of purposeful roadblocks in order to discourage folks from basically just taking these actions and really recognizing that some of these talking points that you've made are indeed an issue, what is it that you found in doing all your, symposiums or talks or meeting different people? What is the common denominator, do you think? Why are people just checked out?
So, I mean, obviously education. We should be taught from a very young age the principles of our documents and what built them, how our forefathers created our documents. They utilized the Bible. So when we want to interpret the Constitution, we have to go back to the Geneva or the 1611 Bible to interpret that and know why they gave us the freedom of religion already. So it doesn't matter what you believe in, which direction you believe in. If you don't believe in God at all, you still need to be able to comprehend how the forefathers utilized the Bible to write our Constitution, our Declaration of Independence, and our Bill of Rights, so that we know exactly the powers that we have. And so they're not teaching civics in school. They're not even teaching cursive writing in school anymore. So to our children, our grandchildren, great-grandchildren, cursive writing is going to be like hieroglyphics, and nobody's going to be able to understand it. So it's very important, those foundations, to be put into our society from the very beginning. A smart society will always be better. God's children perish for lack of knowledge and lack of vision, and you can't have vision without knowledge. So the education is very important. And I utilize the sheriff campaign to really use that platform as a form of education to teach people what a sheriff should be doing, what their true nature and role of their job is, and why we elect a badge. Same, and I'm utilizing the governor campaign in the exact same way. It's a platform to what a governor actually has the power to do, what the true nature of their job is. What does it mean to be in honor of our Constitution, in honor of servitude to God and to the people, right? It's all about our prosperity, and everything in our society hinders us, and it hinders the little guy, and it frees up and makes available to the most wealthy an easier process of living in our society. So we have a lot of capabilities and a lot of abilities to be able to really make great change real quick. There's more of us than there are of them.
Amen.
Yes, sir. Amen. Yeah, Hosea 4:6 states exactly that. My people perish for lack of knowledge. And then you've heard also in the book of John where it speaks on Jesus saying they know not truth because they have not truth. Truth is where it's at. And I want to say there's some things that are coming up between New Mexico and Texas when it has to do with HB 8 here in Texas, which is the heartbeat bill. But these days we see some trafficking going on to New Mexico, and I've heard the numbers are through the roof. I've had the pleasure and the honor of meeting, I want to say his name is David Gallegos. He's a senator out of New Mexico. And
I like David.
They've been doing some things that have been just pushing back against this trafficking. And that's what it is, bottom line. It's trafficking from one state to the other. What have you seen in that arena from your perch? What would you like to talk about in that scene?
Well, when it comes to abortion, New Mexico is the abortion capital of the world. We have more abortion here than anywhere else, and it's abortion for profit. So the facilities here, one of the facilities, I mean, they're making anywhere from $10 to $25 million a week doing abortions. You know, and the people don't realize that they make a lot of money off of this, but they're utilizing the universities. The universities are buying their leftover stuff, everything that comes out. The universities and these everybody in between are nitpicking and taking organs and things like that and selling them on the black market. And then all the scraps and everything left over from that, these people were literally sending to Wuhan, China, to these biolabs where they're creating things like adrenochrome, and there's 9 patents of adrenochrome. Trump even mentioned it during the when he was doing his COVID presentations every day when he was president. He mentioned at one point there's 9 patents of adrenochrome, and there are 2 that were currently active at that point. And so there's so much more going on behind the scenes when it comes to abortion, but they're selling it to people like it's a right. And by definition, murder is premeditated death. So in death, I mean, we kill people for sport, we kill people for defense, we kill people by accident, but murder is premeditated. So when they're coming in there and they're selling to these little girls or these women, that it's okay to murder their child and they're making money off of it, that's obviously a problem that goes beyond the scope of what anybody is really truly fighting for in the open scene.
You know, I know that some folks that'll be watching this later on, I don't know what they're going to think, but I haven't heard this by accident, but there's some type of occult connection as well, right? Satanism. I mean, they're really huge in the abortion trafficking. What is going on with that? I mean, is that a thing that you've seen?
Absolutely. I mean, this is a war. There's nothing new under the sun. We've been fighting the same war since the beginning of time. It's powers and principalities. It's good and evil. It's God and Satan. And the evil are part of anything that has to do with killing and murdering and trying to bring us to the okay, that normalizing murder, normalizing the Sodom and Gomorrah aspect of what's been going on in our society. That's not okay. You know, during the lockdowns, when nobody else in the country was doing abortions, New Mexico was on top of it. They were literally flying people in from Canada and from Mexico and getting them signed up to Medicaid under the New Mexico taxpayer dollar.
Wow.
You'd go to these parking lots and you'd see license plates from all over the country. So it's so much deeper and bigger than anything. And when you get into Planned Parenthood and all the things that they're involved with and all the money they're putting into politics, every one of the sheriffs that ran against me besides one was getting money from Planned Parenthood, Mothers Against Drunk Driving, you know, all of them. They all had $50,000 to $100,000 just from Planned Parenthood. And only one of those guys was going to win, but they were all on the same message. So the abortion industry is, you know, all the equipment that they're using for all that murder is there's all kinds of laws about moving that kind of equipment across state lines, which is a lot of what New Mexico is fighting, and some of these counties that have become sanctuary cities against abortion. They're utilizing those laws because, and then now here in New Mexico, they brought in the Church of Satan, and now the Church of Satan is able to do abortions, and they tried to pass statutes, and they did pass statutes actually, excuse me, that they were going to start putting these churches of Satan in our schools and allow them to do abortions without ever notifying the parents. And that's another point that needs to be understood, is that anytime you register for anything, you give up your power of attorney. So when we register our children to school, we're no longer the parent, the state is, and they're labeled actually as the ultimate parent. You know, it's just like if we register to vote, well, they can do whatever they want with our vote. When we register our cars with the state, they can ticket, tag it, tow them, take them. You're paying taxes on them. You know, so when we register for concealed carry, you're actually giving up your Second Amendment, because if you're an American, you were born with that unalienable right to open carry, concealed carry, whatever it is, you have the right to own a gun. So there's a lot of things in law that we need to start to comprehend to know exactly how we can defeat these things and how these things truly are illegal on their end. They don't have the powers that they're granting out, right? 10th Amendment says that they're only granted the powers that the Constitution affords them. and
Mhm.
we're the fourth branch of government, so we're in charge of them, and we get to tell them no if there's things that they're doing that absolutely are repugnant to that Constitution, and they're not listening. The courts don't work for us.
Well, one thing that I found where people skew and misrepresent Romans chapter 13, where it speaks on submitting to the governing authority, and they twist that because the governing authority in this country is we the people.
That's
We're
right.
the governing authority. And so the ones that are subject to that are those that we elect. And so they've skewed that so horribly wrong. You know, we the people are the governing authority. So before I get on to some of the things that are happening in New Mexico, I want to give Misty an opportunity to ask you a question because I know she may have one. Go ahead, Misty.
You don't know this. I've watched some of your podcasts before, but one thing I really, really would like for you to put out there that I noticed was your explanation of the Constitution. If you could make some kind of flyer, because I feel like it's so important that people actually understand what the Constitution is saying, and you explain it so well that I feel like if you made some kind of flyer and passed that around, I feel like it would wake a lot of people up. I know that sounds weird, but
You know, it's hard to get everything out, even in a 4-hour interview or conversation. So to put something on a flyer it's tough. But I do work with Billboards for Freedom, Banners for Freedom, actually. Banners, the number 4, freedom.com. That's Robert and Jamie Agee. And they're putting up billboards all over the country, and we're doing it all through the lockdowns, spreading just important messages and whatnot. I think we've got maybe 50 billboards up through Texas, Colorado, New Mexico, and elsewhere that are all about human trafficking and, you know, let my people go, and some information that leads towards the people that are putting forth those efforts to stop human trafficking. But I agree with you. I mean, I managed bands for a while, so handing out handbills for events is always really good business.
The explanation I'm talking about is where you're talking about how the Constitution was set up, where it wasn't supposed to have parties in it, and that whole message that you said. Either like make some kind of TikTok that people can share, or a flyer or something on that small.
Well, I have a TikTok channel, and I've pumped out videos, and you're welcome to go share them.
I would love to, because I feel like people really need to hear that message. I feel like that is such an important message. And the reason why I'm telling you that is because people hear the word Constitution and they don't want to go and read it for themselves. So it's like, and no one else is talking about it because they don't actually want us to know what it says.
Right. And our Constitution was written to be understood with an 8th grade reading level. Now, granted, at this point, the 8th grade reading level of the past is actually probably greater than it is now.
Yeah.
But it ultimately, evil wants us to be overwhelmed and feel like that it's just too much, and we can't do it, and only lawyers and only our elected officials can handle this kind of concentration to like comprehend this heavy, hard thing to understand. And it's not. The Constitution is simple. God is simple. Everything good is simple. You don't have to think very hard. You know, the 10 Commandments are very explicit, and so are the first 10 Amendments. They tell us exactly what powers we have and what we're capable of doing, and what's our duty to actually do. That's why we take the Pledge of Allegiance. We're swearing an oath every time we do that to this country and to those documents. So there's not a whole lot to think about. It's just us collectively being tired of what's going on, standing up, and we can all learn it very, very rapidly, and we can handle business.
Well, you know, in any court case, attorneys, judges, whoever, the DA, they they always ask the same thing. What's your standing? What's your standing? Well, the Bill of Rights is our standing. The Bill of Rights is our standing in all things good in this country. So I don't understand how we've lost that apparatus of understanding. The Bill of Rights gives us all the standing. It's summed up in those 10. And that's
where I like to heavily throw out comprehension, because we don't stand under their authority. So we don't understand anything. We got to comprehend what the law allows us to do. And we also have to know that our local governments, our state governments, they're for-profit corporations. The state ofs were not the original creation by our Constitution. There was 37 republics until this country became a corporation. Then every state that came into the Union after 1871, up into after 1878, was never even a republic. And everything, all the remedies, the Convention of States and Texas seceding from the Union and all these different things were designed for the republic, not for the state ofs. The state ofs, when they came into existence, the governors at the time, legislation at the time, actually committed treason. They used statutes to amend our Constitution, to amend Article 3 of our constitutions, which took away our Article 3 courts. And so, when you're dealing with corporations, only a corporation can sue a corporation. And we can't try to sue these people who aren't lawfully in office under their titles. We got to sue them in their private capacity. We got to charge them in their private capacity because it's their individual selves that decided to be in dereliction of duty of their constitutional oath. Like I said, none of them even took an oath. They didn't take an oath to the State of the Union. They took an oath to the corporation to ensure that the revenue necessary for the corporation was going to come in, no matter if it means violating our rights. See, our courts are not Article 3 courts, they're Article 2 courts. What does that mean? That means that they're equity courts. Our courts are banks. So there's a level of RICO and fraud and misappropriation of funds that are happening beyond the scale of what any of us are fighting for every day. They're robbing us. They're practicing law from the bench. They're deprivation of rights. They're operating under the color of law, and we're ignorant of all this, and we just allow it to happen, and we play their game. We don't need to play their game. This is the law of the land is what the Bible talks about, right? And God's law is to do no harm. So for us, for the whole great experiment of America was that the rest of the country was peasants and chattel. The rest of the world was peasants and chattel. And our forefathers were going to commit treason against the crown so that we could all be royalty. We're all kings and queens operating as one united system. And so we don't serve our servants, they serve us. But if we don't know equity law and our governments are ran by trust law, we got to start reading trust law. That's the only way we'll ever gain that foundation of how everything operates.
Thank you for that. Very well put. Iris, do you want to?
I'm sorry. My phone just really went kaput, and I got out early trying to get it fixed, and then I had to sign into this, and I've never been in StreamYard, so I was having to go through all my emails trying to figure out how to get off here.
Don't worry about it. Well, I'm glad that you've introduced us to Sheriff Joshua James. He's very well learned in all areas. So thank you for introducing him to us. I want to speak a little bit now. Misty, Melanie, does she have a question before I ask my next one?
It's Melina. Sorry, Melina. Do you have a question?
Actually, I do. Going back to the school system, talking about, kids can't write and code stuff. I know kids can't even read clocks. They can't even, I grew up knowing military time. That would be out the window. How do we get that back in the schools? Just the basics. Well, what if everything crashed or something happened? And these are basic things that I think are very important in the education system.
So the duty of the people constitutionally, it's our duty to create everything that happens inside of our government. we have been allowing the servants who are not lawfully in office, who don't have an oath of office, to create everything. They are always creating new departments. They create new budgets, and anybody in the corporate world knows that you spend a budget by the end of the year and you get a bigger budget the next year, and then you spend it and you get a bigger one, right? And they're constantly giving themselves pay raises. So we don't need the public Department of Education. We don't need any of these entities that they've created that take out giant portions of our funds, our monies, and that go to them, that don't benefit or prosper the people. That's why part of the plan for me when I come in as governor, and what I'm doing now, starting my campaign so early, is building teams in every county to decide and start looking at everything and aspect that what do we need as a county, and what do we not need? What's not helping any of us? What is just what's not prospering the people? What's hindering our local businesses? What's hindering our schools? What do we want our children to be learning? Because there's a board that's making all these decisions without asking any of us. You know, even if they put things on a bill that we're voting for, well, we already know our vote's not even counting, so we're not making those decisions. Everything, we're just putting our children in school. And see, the principal of a school is called a principal for a reason. He's the key principal of the monetary value of the school, right? So every child, we all know at this point, is valued, give or take, at $37,000 a piece. That's why if they don't show up to school, right now they can charge the parent with truancy because the victim is the state. And now they're losing revenue because your child isn't coming to school. And because you've registered your children's school, you're not the parent. They get to make those decisions. So we've got to put the power back in our hands. And if we don't like how a system is operating in our government or department, we don't play all these games that get us nowhere to try and stop that. We don't go argue with a school board and get turned down every time. That's just not how it works. If we want to fire them, we fire them. If we don't want to even use that public education system, we don't need it. And we can go form private schools, we can do homeschooling, and we can get together as a unit in our communities, and we can create our own school. We could hire and find the funding through local corporations. Businesses can donate up to like $14,000 a year tax-free. We can find these people and fund whatever it is we need to do. And so we need to put our efforts, drive our efforts in that direction versus trying to fight a system that's not going to let us win. Evil's not going to punish themselves. Only we can punish them. We are the disciplinarians of our government. So we've got to start taking that authority and using it.
On that note, I have my son, and he's disabled, and he's got autism. He's 11. He's nonverbal. So I have him in a private school because the people that help out in the classroom don't even know CPR, let alone to handle children with a disability. That's concerning to me. You know, you would think there should be special training on that, but there's not. That's another thing that I find displeasing.
Something I really wanted to highlight, even as sheriff, and then I was promoting to other people that are running for governor last election, is, you know, where's our elders? Where's all the wisdom? They're being put in Walmart to be greeters, and they sit in these old folks' homes and play games. And, you know, there's so much more that they have to offer in our society, and I'd like to be able to bring them back in. I want all these young 20-year-old teachers, you know, these children that are trying to teach our children that were indoctrinated in these very liberal, progressive systems, to have some sound and reason in their room. So maybe we could start, you know, getting our wisdom back in the classrooms to support these younger teachers and to inspire them to be teaching the things that matter in life to these children before it's gone. Because if we wait and we win this fight after all our elders and our wisdom is gone off this planet, you know, we're losing that. So we really need to take advantage of that. So I'd like to see systems that bring those people back into the classroom. Glorify the grannies and the grandpas, and have them teaching our kids, because I think our children learn so much more about life inside of our family systems than they do in our public education system.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And for any teachers that may be watching this out there, we understand that proxy system is set up to really get you blackballed and whatnot, but you can always reach out to us on the back channel, email us, and we'll do what we can to help you find a way to regain your leverage once again. I mean, there's a lot of success stories out there of good teachers that have actually fought back and won, but the media suppresses that information. It suppresses those victories. And so we just want you guys to know that, and I'm sure Sheriff Joshua James feels the same way. I mean, connect with us, let us know what's going on, and we will do anything and everything we can to help you guys. That's one thing that I've noticed, Sheriff Joshua, is that a lot of these folks feel like it's just a dead end road. They get blackballed, so therefore they just say nothing at all. But we're here to help you, and we will find a way to get this information out.
Change is scary, and it like, once again, it sounds overwhelming, and everybody wants to hold out for their paycheck and their pensions, and that's the same with police departments, sheriff's departments, every category. It's a very hard thing to come to the decision to like just stop everything you're doing and to make a change, but that's part of a mustard seed of faith, right? It'll move mountains, and sometimes. You just have to take action and pray and believe that God's going to put in front of you everything that's necessary for you. Everything that's happened in our life is led up to be able to build that courage to do those things, and it's just a matter of doing it. And you will always find your path. You'll always find your people, your community. But that's what it's going to take to bring about the world and the change that we want to see. Is we got to be the change.
That's right.
It's a very, very hard thing to build up to, but that's why we need each other to do it. So if we can provide another avenue for these teachers and for these police officers and sheriffs and whatnot, and let them know, man, just come to our side and you'll be fine. That's where the barn raising comes in, where our community helps each other up and to sustain while we get back into the true flow that we want to be seeing.
I want to read this headline. It's from Fox News Digital, and it's from Nicholas Lanham. It says, treason. New Mexico governor should have been arrested on the spot. Former Democrat says it's bad when a Democrat speaks out against something. What is going on? What happened here?
Well, that was actually an article that I did, an interview I did with Fox, because I used to be a Democrat. I mean, I protested against Bush and the wars and 9/11 and all that stuff. But so our governors used to work in the health department under Bill Richardson, where they made a lot of changes to the health code and whatnot that aren't good. They can force vaccinate. They have that all in there. They can force us into camps and all kinds of things. So now that she was governor, she came into Bernalillo County because of all of our homicides. We have at least one homicide a day. It's one of the top. We lead in homicides in this country. We from first place to 8th place all the time, but still. And she wanted to call it under the health order. She put an executive order taking away the Second Amendment right from Americans here in Bernalillo County, New Mexicans here in Bernalillo County, and only here, which is segregation, discrimination, violation of our rights. And frankly, it's treason on her part to ever even do that. You can never write a law or an executive order or mandate an ordinance or anything that violates our rights. You just can't do it. And so when she made that announcement, she did it right here in Bernalillo. Well, I'm not in Bernalillo County at the moment, but in Bernalillo County. And that sheriff was sitting right next to her
Mm.
The state head of state police, the police chief for Albuquerque, was sitting right next to her, and every single one of them, by their oath and duty, should have arrested her on the spot for even making that attempt, for even putting them in that position.
Yeah.
And that didn't happen. But they have attorneys are running the show, so they know what they can and can't say. They formulate things so that they can say them and not get in trouble. But she straight up said her oath and the Constitution are not absolute, which we all know. When you take that oath, and our Constitution absolutely is absolute. So
yeah, I would think that would fall under the lines of sedition.
Sedition, treason, invasion, you name it. I mean, and that's just a smidget of the crimes that have been committed by this administration and so many administrations across this country.
So this sheriff you speak of, I seen another article, and it says, once it pulls up, and I'm taking it, it's probably the guy that you're speaking of here. Let it pull up. It says New Mexico sheriff says he won't enforce unconstitutional gun ban protecting the Second Amendment. Is this the gentleman that I guess his name is John Allen?
Correct.
Okay. So where are we at with this situation right now?
Well, we had put a restraining order on that executive order for like 23 days or something, which while there was this restraining order on that executive order, she went and amended the executive order. Okay, anytime if you have a restraining order on a person and they're not allowed to be within so many feet of you, this, that, and the other, and you can't make contact, well, it goes the same with an executive order on or a restraining order against an executive order. You can't touch it. You got to stay away from it until we have our next court date. So she broke another law there. But at the moment, the judge approved basically her amendment, which said that there was no guns now allowed in parks and schools, I think it was, which was already a statute. It was already in place. So
what led up to all this?
John Allen, here in New Mexico, sorry, excuse me, it's very important. But here in New Mexico in November 2021, legislature passed a law taking all immunities away from all law enforcement and elected officials. And you could sue them for up to $2 million individually. And so if those guys, the DA, the mayor of Albuquerque, the attorney general, the sheriff, and the police chief, and if these guys did not put out those statements, it would have been class action. Every single individual, somewhere around 830,000 people inside of Bernalillo County, could have sued every one of them for violating their rights under deprivation of rights for up to $2 million. We would have bankrupted not only this county, but probably the state. So they had to put those orders out, but their actions are what tell everything. They are not doing anything to hold that governor accountable for those actions.
So she put a 30-day ban in this time period. If somebody were to have been injured or hurt, couldn't protect themselves because of the ban, that's kind of what you're getting at. These lawsuits would have just, you weren't allowed to protect yourself. That would have, geez Louise, she was really putting herself out there to be liable to a lot of lawsuits.
She's currently on, she's on Joe Biden's reelection team. I think she's definitely fighting for a spot inside of their next administration, which won't be there anyways. And even people in her administration, our Secretary of State, 2 other senators, a congresswoman, they all worked for Ghislaine Maxwell and the company Terramar, which was their submarine company that they trafficked humans with.
Wow.
And another thing this governor did when she first got into office in the first term, she released the head of the Padilla family from prison. And the Padilla family, along with the Lujan family, because Michelle Lujan Grisham, the Lujan family has been trafficking humans since the Spanish colonial times.
Mm.
And when she released the head of the Padilla family, their head trafficking family of everything in this state, along with the Lujans. And she took him out of prison. He was at her celebration for winning the governorship, and they were dancing together. You know, such a romantic story. But these types of nepotism and these things are happening all over the country all the time. What more evidence do we need?
Mm-hmm. This is just blowing me away. I mean, where are we at with folks that still would want to reelect her? Where's the disconnect there? Why would they, if we see all these things happening, all these egregious acts? I mean, what is going on in New Mexico that they just it's almost like they're cutting off the tree limb and they're standing on the side that's going to hit the ground, and they can see it clearly.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, why is there such a disconnect there?
I mean, there's plenty that obviously are just ignorant and naive, and they don't realize that the things that they scream about, that they hate from the rich and the wealthy and whatnot, that these things are happening under the people that they're electing.
The money is controlling the votes. The votes they're rigged.
Yeah. Right. They make these places, they make New Mexico appear to be a blue state. They make Michigan appear to be a blue state, in California and Oregon and Washington. But when we go into the outskirts of these places, there's a lot more red, a lot more conservative than they like people to believe. So I don't believe that this is as strong that way, but there's definitely the ignorant and naive. But we also have to know that there's a good majority of the people that are supporting all that are part of all that. You know, this is a safe haven. Chicago's a safe haven. Michigan, Portland, and Seattle. These are safe havens for pedophile traffickers, criminals of all kind that are, and there's a blackmail that's happening egregiously across this country against a lot of these people that are almost forcing them to participate. So, you know, transparency is key. That's number one for me is whatever this state has been doing, we're going to find out about it if you put me in there. We're going to audit everything. Everything will be released. Emails, anything they've been hiding from the people, we're going to all know about it. And at that point, this isn't a left or right thing. This is something that affects all of us equally. And we're all losing out by their corruption. And so we have to collectively comprehend, be able to see the crimes, the egregious acts, the treason that's happening, so that we can all get on one side to let's defeat the evil and wickedness that's happening. Because as we learn the facts, a bunch of information, belief systems inside of us are going to disappear, and we're going to have now common knowledge, common irritations to hopefully fight back against the evil and wicked.
Exactly. Back in 2016, we had it's classified as the Bundy standoff on some platforms. You're familiar with that, right? With the National Wildlife Refuge?
Yeah, one of my fellow producers actually was there the whole time and produced a documentary on that. Yeah. And he used to be a producer for InfoWars and Coast to Coast AM, and an amazing guy. We did a documentary together on Roger Stone, and so absolutely, man, these people had all rights and authorities to do what they did, and they forced the BLM to back off. You know, the fact is, BLM is they own all the land patents to all the land in this whole country except for Texas. There's no BLM in Texas. So I come in as governor, BLM will be gone. And a bunch of these federal agencies will no longer be able to take part in our state because they participate in theft, fraud, RICO, misappropriation of funds as well. But the Bundys had every right to do what they're doing. The BLM were literally driving their cattle into giant holes and burying them alive. And so for our people, for all those cowboys and all those American patriots that stood up against them at gunpoint, says a lot about what our true authorities are and what we can get away with.
Right. It's just there's so much going on out there that is just so tyrannical, and our forefathers left with purpose, and we had a revolution over this type of thing, and here we are going full circle. And folks just need to get on their knees, pray, but they have to start to apply some things. You know, when you watch something like this here, for those that are going to be looking at this, if you don't apply what your rights are, it's like, I mean, it's just, you're just showing a menu to a starving man. It doesn't do anything. It's almost wicked and vile to do that. You have to be ready to push forward on your rights. And so, Sheriff Joshua James, really appreciate you coming on today. I mean, I'm not done yet, but I can't wait to meet you when you come to our event this month.
Oh, you're coming to the event? I'm so excited.
Well, I'm gonna definitely make an effort to be there. Yeah, my schedule is crazy. I haven't even been home in a month. I've been traveling this whole time. I'm almost home.
Yeah, well, we need to all definitely connect and have you as a speaker as well at some point. Folks need to understand that these things are in the power of, you know, where we're at. You know, I tell folks all the time, you look at the federal things and things that are out there, and those are important, but, you know, our starting line is 2 feet in front of us, and let's get it done right here, right now, locally. Let's build teams, and we're here. Let's go to these board meetings. Let's find out what's going on. Let's get it out to the people here locally, and you'll start to see the aroma shift. And you know, we had a guest speaker come last month over smart cities, and he was our assistant city manager, or he is the assistant city manager. And you know, now these guys are having to be a little more transparent. And as conservatives of Texas, we're just trying to bring that to the people in the community to just say, hey, you know, like you said earlier, truth is simple. It's if you have nothing to hide, what's so complex? When you start getting complex with your wording, that's when things start to look like maybe you're hiding something here. If you're not willing to come speak to us and you're hired by the elected officials that we've put in place, I think that's a red flag. So I was thankful that he came, but we just need to start doing more of these town halls every quarter, getting these people in front of the community, because we are the people, and there are servants. And I think that it's outrageous whenever you see these elected officials act as if they're over us, and they're not. They serve us, you know. And so we got to take that back. Iris, did you want to say anything? I can't hear you. You're
Okay. Hi, Sheriff Joshua. I just wanted to say, I'm sorry I'm late, and I don't know what y'all talked about, but did you talk to them about your sites on where they're training people on their rights and stuff? About the UCC codes and stuff?
No, but we do have a group called Americas-assembly.com, America with an S, the hyphen symbol, assembly.com. And you can go sign up, create an account. You'll sign an NDA just promising you're not going to sell this information for profit, because we work for the glory of God. We're not going to charge Americans for their freedom. But we do teach how to take back your standing, how to become the creditor versus the debtor in our society, which royalty is their creditors. They're not debtors. Slaves are debtors. And we teach how to operate in the courts, how to how all of the courts are banks and what all that means. You can actually, all the ways that the elite live, all those wealthy billionaires, they don't live like we do. Okay. The Federal Reserve bankers, George Soros, they don't wake up every day and think about money. Okay. We all think that that's all they do is they're just greed and money. Now they don't even think about it. They're the ones that manufacture the federal notes, reserve notes, the fake money, the fake debts. So they don't think about that. Their agenda is Satan, is Sodom and Gomorrah, is so much bigger than just money. But they teach these systems of how to operate in trust and whatnot through their Masonic orders and the fraternal orders, and they make people work for and blackmail for that kind of access. So we're teaching that access without any of that. It's totally for the glory of God to bring us back to the powerful royalty status, standing, and jurisdiction that we're meant to have in America. So that's a really great group to participate with, and we're working with a lot of amazing people across this country and across the world to bring all this back smoothly. Because when we win this war, we in America will be given back those things. We're going to be taught those things again. We're going to put these things back in our education system. And not just here in America, the rest of the world will participate.
Hey, Alex, can you include that link on this video or no?
Yeah, I sure will. I think I'm going to go ahead and put it on our website, our Conservatives of Texas website as well, if you're okay with that. Sure.
Can we share so we can share your TikTok? What is that? TikTok?
I'm on every platform at Sheriff Joshua James. I think Twitter is Sheriff J James. Or if you even just look Joshua James Ryan Lawrence, you can Google me, whatever. You'll find all the places. I'm on so many. I'm on like every social network there is.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So going back to the UCC real quick, I've been in a different group before. I found yours, and I've been I know how to do the UCC. Now my question is, if I did the UCC, does that mean that I'm getting taken out of the system and being sovereign?
Look, there's a lot of groups out there that teach little pieces of all the things that we teach, but we've actually been able to create the full circle, the full process of everything. You don't want to just do the UCC unless you've got everything else in place and proper, because there's a lot of people that do go through part of the process, but they don't have everything, and they get themselves in trouble. Yeah. So until you can become that secure party creditor, and you can take back your status and standing, your jurisdiction, you don't want to try to do anything. So, I mean, I highly advise just going through we give free classes on Zoom. We teach you how to write your own private trust. Everything's there. We have Telegram channels, support teams. Everybody that's learning this, a lot of people are coming in and becoming admins. They're helping to teach. They're helping people to create their trusts. So there's just definitely a process you want to go through, and you want to do it properly so you don't get in trouble, because so many people you've heard from before, I promise you, there's just links out of that chain that you don't want to skip those steps.
So I'll tell you what I did. I sent my mortgage company a payment, and they had drawn some new papers for me and stuff. And I put on there, because a guy in Germany that's helping us with the UCC codes, he actually told me to put on there the UCC 1-308 and some wording. And so I did that. And then I got a letter just yesterday from my mortgage company telling me that, because I signed in blue and they told me to sign in black, which we know we don't sign in black. And so they told me that I needed to redo my paperwork and send it back to them. And I was hoping that you were going to tell me, here's your deed and your mortgage is paid off.
Well, no matter what, even if you did some things right, they're still going to send you a letter like that and try to convince you that you didn't do it right. They're going to make you question yourself when maybe you actually did. So that's where the process of rebuttaling is very important. You give them so much time to rebuttal, then you can do certain things. When these entities don't rebuttal back at some point, that's actually an admission of guilt. So it actually means that you're now in the right and you've cleared to move forward. And there's so many things in the contractual world that we just, once again, we're not taught. Everything's a contract. I mean, just taking a ticket from a cop is contracting with them and what they say. So, or answering a question can be just contracting with them. That's why you have the right to plead the fifth. We don't have to contract with anybody. Governments can't force us to contract with third parties like the IRS or MVDs and these MVD and DMV expresses and stuff. They've broken it down into, and they can't force us to contract with child protective services and all these different entities that are not part of the government. That's why, cops will come with CPS, but they don't arrest you. You can tell the CPS to go away and shut your door. And those cops don't come arrest you. They don't have a warrant. They're just there to protect this third party, just like our sheriffs, right, are doing asset forfeiture for the banks. They're taking people's homes because of back taxes. It might be $200 in back taxes, and then we're removing people from their home. That's a violation of our rights. Yep. That's where they become glorified secretaries for the bankers. There's nothing legitimate about that. Anything third party, it's special interests. That's kickbacks. That's RICO.
So
that's
how are they getting away with foreclosure still? I keep hearing that the good guys are in control, okay, and then I hear that the banks have been taken over, and yet you still see foreclosures. So I don't understand, how are they still doing foreclosures?
Man, the good guys are in control to a point. They gain their full control when we step up. Like I said, this evil, this wickedness goes on as long as we allow it. That's why even when you get into Q, it said that it's going to take pain. We're going to go through pain. No pain, no gain. It takes war coming to all of our doorsteps, putting our children on the line, our family, our jobs, our hobbies, our religion, our everything we care about, our values and our morals being put on the line to the point where we feel like they're going to disappear if we don't step up.
Yeah.
And in the Revolutionary War and the Civil War, we only had 2 to 4% of the population that even stood up to fight the crown. Everybody else stayed home. Yeah. So right now in this country, we've got, give or take, 22% of our population ready to stand up. The rest of them can stay home. We don't need everybody. We just need everybody to have the huevos and the faith to stand up and collectively come together and say, you know what? No more. This ain't happening. On November 10th, there's going to be people showing up to the border in Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, and California to start blockading the border. Who knows where this could lead? It could be like the trucker caravans and all the other things where, man, people start showing up and locking arms and becoming a wall at that border. And on that point, just for reference real quick, the Homeland Security owns jurisdiction of 100 miles from the border out into the country. So 100 miles of that is theirs. That's Homeland Security. Therefore, all the counties within that 100 miles need to start putting the complaints into the sheriffs, writing the affidavits, getting them notarized, putting them on the record, and charging the head of Homeland Security with treason through Title 18, 1985, Section 3. We take those people personally in their private capacity to court in the federal court for charges of dereliction of duty, because that open border, yes, the governor, yes, the land commissioner, yes, there's all these other positions that have some authority there and can put the stop to it. But ultimately, that 100 miles belongs to Homeland Security. So there's always actions that we can take that nobody's taken. It's just becoming aware of what those actions are. And I could go with another laundry list of stuff that we could be trying, because we got to throw it all against the wall. We got to force all these people to do their job, the sheriffs, the judges. We got to really expose their corruption by doing things properly. Because as we do them properly and they still fail, now they're giving us finally the proper excuse and reason by law to remove them from office by whatever means necessary. All enemies, foreign and domestic.
Now, Sheriff Joshua, if they already have corrupt judges, how do we bypass that? I mean, if we you do what you say, and then they block that because there's corrupt judges, what's the process after that?
Well, we have our veterans, okay? No matter what, it's our veterans' job. When they come home from foreign lands and they're domestic, they have a lot more authorities than they're even taught. They have arresting authorities. We should be able to go to a veteran and say, look, I have this evidence. I have everything of treason, sedition, whatever it may be from this elected official. They actually have the right to go make an arrest. So if we pull them all collectively, there's a lot of things we can do. We, the people, have the right of citizens arrest. No matter what, it's power in numbers. Me, as a constitutional sheriff in the Republic of Texas, it's a volunteer job. I don't get paid. I don't have any sort of job right now that pays me, man. I'm literally living by God's faith. I'm able to travel this country and speak to people and make things happen. And I'm still not losing the weight that I want to be losing. So there's a lot of things that we can be doing. We just have to learn those foundations. So we can go in another time. We can go into more depth on all that. Sure. But that's where we have to leave the trail of all these proper procedures on our part versus we're not barbarians. And if we just go pick up arms and go take them, even though we have that right, we have the right to abolish government. We have the right to use our Second Amendment against the corrupt tyrants. But we really need to just, for our own well-being, for our children's sake in the future, to look back on history and see what we did. We need to leave that trail of proper procedure.
Yeah.
Gotcha. I've got some sites here. I've got some sites here that I had on the ticker, and I want to add a couple of more that you mentioned. Right now I have sheriffjoshuajames.com, joshuajamesfornewmexico.com. Those are still good, right? We're still using those?
Yeah, those actually go to the same site, and it's there. There's some videos there if you want to go watch. That was from my sheriff campaign. I never even had time because I was doing it all by myself to even finish the website for my own campaign. I've got someone working on my new site here. Eventually, it'll be joshuajames.com, but it's not up at the moment. But it's being worked on. You can find me, like I said, on every social network. Just Google Sheriff Joshua James or Joshua James Ryan Lawrence. Do the same thing in YouTube, Rumble. You'll find all kinds of things. And you can find my phone number. You can email me from that website if you need to get a hold of me. I get overwhelmed, honestly, with texts, phone calls, emails, everything. So I'll put you in the queue, but I try to talk to everybody. I try not to leave anybody hanging. Things get lost. Things get put in the spam folder, unfortunately. I'm open to talk to anybody.
Let me get that email real fast, and I'll put it on the ticker down here.
sheriffjoshuajames@gmail.
Okay.
I had one more question for him, if he doesn't mind answering it.
No, go ahead.
Okay, according to Texas Penal Code 30.05 on the purple, the purple fence or the purple, you can paint some purple. They can't come to your door like the IRS or any of that. Is that correct?
Technically, no. And any law that was written saying that was okay, once again, it's repugnant to the Constitution. And there's buttloads because remember, statutes not law. Mandates are not law. Ordinances are not law. Executive orders are not law by definition. So, we need to know that as well. But no,
Well,
they can't allow a third party to stomp up on your property and do whatever they want. That's just not the case. Just like taxes, there's no law saying that you have to pay taxes. Taxes technically are only for government employees. So as a U.S. citizen, unfortunately, you're labeled as an employee of the government. So you're a ward of the state. But technically, IRS is only supposed to take taxes out of government employees. Statutes and codes by nature are only the rules for law enforcement and elected officials. You can't use administrative code on we the people. We have common law. We have our common law courts, our Article 3 courts. We have the sheriff. We have the U.S. Marshals with 2 L's. So we have things that are in place in our country for us, and the servants have rules in place for them, and statutes and codes were supposed to be only for them, not for us.
One last thing, we have something that's coming up in Amarillo under Sanctuary City for Life, and an ordinance that's on the table. What have you seen in your experience with those items that are working, and what's your opinion of the strength of these things?
As far as the sanctuary city status and different things.
Yeah, what's the I know that here in Texas, I think there's over 60 cities that are doing it, that have signed on to these ordinances. I guess there's maybe one there with Senator the senator that we spoke of earlier, Gallegos. I think he was able to get it done there. What have you found is what's the good sticking point of why these city council members they've got faith in it to the degree where they're going through with it, and some of these other cities they don't want to do it because they feel like, well, XYZ is involved. I mean, can you tell us a little bit about what you've seen is what works and why it works?
The sanctuary processes that have been going on, good or bad, to me is a distraction.
Mm-hmm.
But it does bring about a narrative, and it does educate people to the subject. So I'm okay with that. I don't promote or condone stopping people from action. But if we really wanted to do that, then let's just make all of our counties straight constitutional sanctuary cities, so nothing unconstitutional can happen. No more RICO, no misappropriation of funds, no violation of our rights, no abortion, none of this stuff. Why we break it to one point and go through all that effort to make it a sanctuary city against abortion? Let's just go big or go home.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Is there an actual ordinance being passed around that is like that?
There was during the lockdowns, there was a county in, I believe, Indiana or Illinois that did a full constitutional sanctuary city. You didn't hear a whole lot about it, of course. We do hear a lot about the individual sanctuaries to a point.
Mm-hmm.
But we the people can create that order and force our politicians put their feet to the fire and force them to put in the sanctuary we want in the wording we want. So why don't we do that? Let's come together collectively, bring a town hall, and let's create the most ultimate sanctuary platform and give it to them and say, hey, this is the sanctuary we want on our county, on our state, on our city, on our town, our village, or whatever. Let's make the attempt to try those actions.
Yeah, and what I find so hypocritical and contradictory on the end of these governing bodies is that they say, well, it's going to restrict people from the civil liberties, and I'm thinking, yeah, that's what's happened to us. That's why we're in the place that we're at. They're the ones that have restricted our civil liberties. You have the audacity to even go there. You know what I mean? That's what's audacious, is it not? The contradiction there. We've been stripped of all of our civil liberties for centuries now, it seems like. I mean, not centuries. We've only been here 250 some odd years, but for the longest period of time, these governing authorities that you speak of have stripped us completely of our civil liberties. And they're going to have the audacity to say, well, we can't do that because that'll strip us of our liberty. I'm going, are you cuckoo in your head or something? That's so bizarre.
Absolutely.
Now,
Lawmakers like their job.
Yeah.
Okay. Are we just going to keep making more laws forever so that they can keep their jobs, so they can keep hiring their families and their friends into these jobs? How many laws do we need to constantly be making?
That's right.
Let's eliminate all the victimless laws and crimes, and let's try to simplify it. Let's also put out orders that we want our badges of all kinds to enforce the Constitution.
Yeah.
And let's make it a constitutional enforcement sanctuary county, and they no longer are working for revenue for the corporation, enforcing statutes and codes against us and violating our rights.
Yeah,
Look, I guarantee you a lot of our badges went in to be heroes.
yeah.
I believe their intentions are good. I got their back. I'm not gonna perpetuate any violence against them. I mean, I'm gonna protect them. But ultimately, the things that they do and they have to do to get a pay raise or to move forward in their business, in that work, they have to violate our rights. And so let's help them come to the table for us, because we need our veterans and we need our badges, and we need them to be true constitutional law enforcement, because ultimately in this country, by law, there is no law enforcement. In fact, we created the only constitutional law enforcement in this country right here in New Mexico. And we've put that corporation in Arizona, Maine, New Hampshire, and Washington, D.C. right now. And we're working to put it in all 50 states. And we did that by creating our own corporation that's our constitutional bar versus the Bar Association. So there was always the Bar Association as a private corporation in all 50 states with no competition. We've created the competition, and that competition also comes with constitutional law enforcement, constitutional bar, and a constitutional party, which I'm about to start getting signatures for here in New Mexico, to have a truly, from the very beginning, incorporated party that can lawfully and legally take donations, because we're an incorporated party. See, all the parties forever have been unincorporated entities taking donations. The state party, they're a PAC. But a PAC is also an unincorporated entity. They're an organization, and they're an organization influencing elections with money, which is also illegal. So I hope that I can bring in this party, and its purpose is to hold everybody accountable. And we're going to stick to that purpose. If you go read the purpose of the Republican Party or Democrat or Libertarian or Constitutional and Green, they don't even have a purpose. And when they finally have been incorporating after calling me a nut forever mentioning these things, now they're incorporating. Guess what? That's an admission of guilt. They're admitting that you were right, Josh, and everything we were doing before was fraud. So I'm going to bring this party in, and hopefully by default, it'll eliminate the other parties, because now we have a case against them because we have precedent. And so when you're a Republican or Democrat and you join your party, you contract with that party, it's now the duty of that party to hold that candidate accountable for not upholding their constitutional oath and duty. And they're not doing that, not anywhere.
Right. Well, I want to give you a moment to speak about your candidacy for running for governor there in New Mexico. Go ahead and tell us a little bit about what some of your plans are if you were to become governor, and some of your convictions there. So go ahead, sir.
Well, right now, I'm like I said, I've got a Give, Sing, Go that's about to go out. I bought an RV and I bought a bus, and I think I'm going to raise the funds to get the RV going, so that I can go live in all 33 counties of this state for the next 2 years. although I believe that these people will be arrested sooner and we'll have a special election, whatever that'll look like, and I can be ahead of the curve. But I want to start empowering the people, to start helping me to create the teams in all different categories to figure out, as soon as I get in, I don't just get in, we all get in. I put the power back in the people's hands, and here's our plan that we've already been formulating and putting together for once I get in there. Here's what we're going to eliminate. Here's the money we're putting back into the coffers. Here's what we're creating. Here's what we're auditing, so that we can build our state up and make this state the most wealthy state in America, maybe even in the world. When Trump was in office, New Mexico was the #1 oil producer in all the world. This governor was left with over $1 billion surplus in those coffers that she blew on the Satanistic abortion education system. So we want to flip that. And so everything that you see, like what Alaska does, the profits they make from the resources go back to the people. We're going to do something like that, but even better, so that all the profits that are made in the state go back to the people of the state, go into absolutely what's necessary for the state, because there'll be no more taxes. If anything, there'll be like maybe a 3% flat tax, and that's it. Nothing more. Anything that hinders all the businesses, the health codes, the regulations, the licensings, it's hard for some of these people to even make profit. So whatever hinders businesses, we want to eliminate that. And we'll bring the businesses together to decide what's best for them and what's not, because I'm sure they'll all agree on pretty much the same things. And so the #1 thing I do right away is, by executive order, eliminate all laws, past and present, that are repugnant to the Constitution. And I take an oath to the State of the Union, and I truly operate as a servant that's bonded and a servant to the people, because I just put the people back in charge above me. I'm not there to get rich. I'm literally doing this to save our state and to save our country, because everything I want to do is hindered and has been stopped. And I should be in a whole different place in my life right now had this corrupt government not stopped the things that we were doing. I want to bring in manufacturing. I want New Mexico to be self-sustainable. Anything that we can do ourselves, I want to be able to do ourselves. I want to wake back up rural New Mexico, all these towns that are dying away that used to be some of the top agricultural places in America. I want to. We're the 5th largest state in America with right around 2 million people in the state. So we got a lot of room. I definitely, if Trump wants to build 10 new cities in this country, I want to promote building a new city in this state while we're building back up all the cities that have been dying away. We're the most volcanic state in America. So we have everything. We've got the largest lithium deposits. We've got diamonds, gold, white gold, silver, platinum, uranium, you name it, we got it. And we can do clean, transparent mining and operations, just like Trump was always talking about clean coal and whatnot. They've destroyed our coal plants here. Our Navajo reservation, that was their bread and butter, was a coal plant. They tore it down. So I want to honor the treaties of the native reservations, the tribes, and I want to work heavily with them. What can we do for you, and what can you do for us? Like a true treaty with their nations and ours. I want to honor the Spanish land grants. Anybody, especially in the past, man, all the families of the Spanish land grants used to get together and fight this system. At this point, a lot of those elders have died off, and the younger crowds don't really comprehend it all. There's a lot of fraud that's happening right now that shouldn't be happening because of those Spanish land grants. Anything that we can collectively imagine that's great for our state, I want to implement it. And I want to put the people to work. If we're going to build roads, I want to put people in New Mexico to work, not bring in some company from out of state where that money is going to go out of our state. I want to correct the wrongs with all the casinos and the fraud that's happened over time to make those casinos now the bread and butter of the reservations. We need to put other mentalities that benefit all of us as their methods of profit, like farming and ranching and fixing our water issues and building food forests and turning our state into the Garden of Eden. I've watched a documentary many years ago that inspired me. A gentleman, one guy over in the Grand Emirates or in Saudi Arabia that took this valley, this canyon, desert, straight desert, and made it into this green, lush, beautiful place with running rivers, salmon running up the rivers. We can do those things here, and they want us to believe that we're running out of water. Water doesn't go anywhere. It's a recirculatory system. We have oceans under our ground galore. They tell us our aquifers are running dry. Are they? Do we even have any transparency? Do we get to see that? There's probably one guy or a handful of people that ever get to see that information. It's whatever they say. So I want to make everything transparent so that we can see everything that's been going on and to ensure that we don't allow that type of corruption to happen again. Because I believe that all these officials, or at least a good majority of them, maybe not all of them, that they work for the cartels. The governors of Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, California, they work for the cartels. They're employees of the military-industrial complex and working a globalist agenda. We know they're getting kickbacks and all those things. And I want to make our law enforcement, all constitutional law enforcement in this state, and give them what they need to do their job absolutely safe and fair for them and for us. And I could go on. There's like I said, anything that the people of this state that are working with me, whatever we can create, I don't care what side of the aisle you're on, what is legitimately good for all of us, and how can we get there?
Man, I agree with that statement wholeheartedly. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Alex, but
that's okay.
That is exactly what I want to fight for, right there.
Well, thank you, Sheriff Joshua James, for taking some time today. I know it's a Saturday and you probably got a million things that you're having to take care of. So I really appreciate you, Iris, making this happen as well. She's been telling me for a little bit. And I said, well, okay, let's get it done. I would hope that
I totally misunderstood I thought we were just going to have a meeting, just a conversation. I didn't even realize that we're doing a show. So thank you so much. And I appreciate you. And no worries at all, Iris. I'm prepared for this always. I dive head first. It's just what I do, man. I got thick skin and I'm ready to go all the time. So even if it's unexpected, it's okay. No problem at all. And I appreciate you having me. I appreciate you listening, and I appreciate your good questions. And you guys, you're upholding your constitutional oath and duty by trying and making the efforts and by airing your grievances and trying to find remedy and recourse to our problems. And I appreciate that very much because it's very necessary in our country.
Well, you're a breath of fresh air for us, because we absolutely love it when we find those wonderful gems out there, and it's just nice to know that you're just right next door to us, and hopefully in the future we can work together and do some amazing things, because at the end of the day, I could care less for the accolades. I honestly think that's it's pretty dumb, because the word says that, he draws near to the humble, to those that have humility, and he resists the proud. I can't stand that aspect of the egocentric aspect of the political realm that it's become. And, it doesn't matter to me. I just want to get it done. I have a motto: don't tell me what you want to do. Tell me what you've done. Show me what you've done. It's really annoying the way I've seen the political spectrum become so jaded, so prostituted. You mentioned PACs earlier. I don't see how that's any different than just being a lobbying group. It's just called PAC, and so they're doing the same thing. When you see someone give $300,000 to a candidate, then all of a sudden they pull up an endorsement out of nowhere for that person's candidate. I mean, come on, it's not that hard to figure out what just happened. That's not a contribution. That's kind of a bribe, in my opinion. But anyways, I digress.
Big facts. Big facts.
Yeah, so I want to tell folks out there, please keep an eye out for our event. We're sending out a lot of invites. Hopefully you guys can make it out there. It's at Comanche Trail, 2700 East 34th here in Amarillo, Texas. We are going to have a mixer from 6 to 7, kind of a fellowship business connect. And then at 7, we're going to have Dr. Douglas Frank speak on the 7 steps to restoring election integrity. And I want to let folks know out there that are commissioners, judges, whatever the case is, hey, we're not here to try to tell you guys that you are doing a horrible job or whatever the case is. Hey, we're here to let you know we're here to help you. We want to ally with the process and find out together what we can do to make this a more sustainable process. Because I can tell you right now, as a precinct chair, when I go out, it's always an uphill battle trying to convince these people that the system is not rigged, the system is whatever the case is. But we're finding out more and more that there's some anomalies out there that just do not make any sense. And so I'm tired of fighting that uphill battle, trying to defend the Republic to the degree where, it's just hard. And so, guys, come out to this event. Let's find out how we can one hand wash the other in the process, and let's be effective change. Like Sheriff Joshua James says, let's be the change, and we can do it in a healthy manner. We can. It's our constitutional right to. It's our obligation. It's our civil duty to do those things. And so, I want to pray us out real quick. And I want to say one thing, Sheriff Joshua, if you decide that you want to come, feel free to set up a table, okay, and get your information out. All right.
Thank you. Let me say one more thing before prayer, because I can't wait for prayer. But government, we hear people talk down to government all the time, and remember, sedition is speaking against your government. Mm-hmm. But it's not government that's a problem. Government is a document, and that document is pretty well close to perfect. I mean, there can always be some tweaks. It's the tyrants inside of our government that are pretending to be government, that are playing that role, whether legitimately or not. They are the problem, not government. So I'll just
very good point. Very, very good point. It reminds me of a little allegory. The hatchet that was destroying the forest, convincing the trees, look at my handle, I'm like you. And he continues to chop the trees down. You guys out there, y'all will figure out what that illustrates. So, dear Father in heaven, utmost and first, we love you, Jesus Christ, and we honor all things that you have set forth before us, Lord Father. We want to be good stewards of what you've presented before us in this country that was founded over Judeo-Christian and on Judeo-Christian principles. We believe that, we know that wholeheartedly, and we feel like we are here for such a time as this, and we will fight valiantly with valor and strength and honor to your holy word. Thank you for Joshua, for Sheriff Joshua James right now, Lord Father. I pray blessings over his campaign. For governor, I pray that you give him the endurance, of course, and also the supplement that he needs, Lord Father, the backing. We know that with all things we can do through you, Jesus Christ. It speaks in Philippians of that. And so we trust in you wholeheartedly. And in your mighty name we pray, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you,
Sheriff Joshua. And I just want to say I'm so grateful that I found Alex and Misty and Sheriff Joshua, because I've learned so much from every one of y'all. And I love y'all.
Well, we know several different Alexes. Are you talking about me or a different Alex? Just playing. I'm going to end it here, but I want you to stay on just real quick for a second. End stream there.